Hey guys, welcome back to Six Quantum Bridge Podcast. This is your host, analyst and researcher Bernadette. You're listening to a 2025 Spotify Most Shared Show, Marathon Show, and Rising Star Show podcast. You're about to find out why. We are going to be talking about let me pull up my notes here. Muller's Ratchet. I have so many things I could say about that Ratchet. All right. Well, the inspiration for this episode is the uptick that I have seen in militant feminism. So much so that they're willing to obliterate the human race by completely taking men out of the picture. So let's paint a picture of what scientifically that would look like if that were to be the case. If you were to be able to reproduce asexually. So, Muller's Ratchet is a concept in evolutionary genetics that describes the irreversible accumulation of harmful genetic mutations in asexual populations, like a real life Themyscira. Okay? Now, what is the core mechanism? In the absence of genetic recombination, which typically occurs during sexual reproduction, offspring inherit the exact genome of their single parent, including any deleterious mutations. The ratchet effects occurs as follows. Mutation accumulation. In other words, individuals in a population naturally acquire random, slightly harmful, deleterious mutations over time. That causes an irreversible loss of the fittest class. Now, in a finite population, the class of individuals with the fewest mutations, the fittest class, can be lost purely by chance, genetic drift. What is the click? Once the fittest class is lost from the population, it cannot be recreated without the recombination or a rare back mutation. The population's overall fitness has irreversibly declined by one click of the ratchet. And this process can repeat, leading to a relentless ratchet-like accumulation of mutations and a continuous decline in the average fitness of the population. A phenomenon sometimes called mutational meltdown, which can ultimately lead to extinction. So, what are we saying here, folks? If there were no men, if it was a feminist utopia where there's only women, and I've covered this in an episode before, if this were to happen, it would be the babies would come out with no survival gene, first of all, because that's provided by the man. Certain immune markers. And if this is able to be done, it would basically be a situation where it's like inbreeding. We've all seen the documentary of that family in the Appalachian Mountains. And it would continue and continue and continue if there were no men. And there were no process of recombination. Fresh genetic material to combine with your genetic material. The babies would come out if they survived at all, mutilated and deformed. And it would get worse and worse and worse every single time until complete complete extinction. So when you hear these militant, screaming wombat feminists that are so misandrous towards men, I want you to remember this episode. And remember Muller's Ratchet. Because if you keep on producing and producing and producing from the same cell that comes from you, without any recombination from a Y chromosome being part of the mix, if it's just X chromosomes are reproducing themselves, it leads to something similar to inbreeding. Severe mental, emotional, physical defects until it leads to extinction. Honestly, between you and me, guys, I don't know what the appeal is of this whole man bashing thing. I don't see the appeal. But hopefully this will put some things into perspective. So let's continue. What is the significance of this? This theory was proposed by geneticist Hermann Joseph Muller, who coined the term in his 1964 paper as a primary explanation for the evolutionary advantage of sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction allows for recombination, a process that can shuffle genes and regenerate individuals with few or no deleterious mutations, effectively undoing the clicks of the ratchet. The principle is used to explain why sexual reproduction is favored over asexual reproduction in the long term. The degradation and gene loss observed in non-recombining regions of genomes, such as the Y chromosome and mitochondrial genomes. Aspects of cellular aging, where somatic cell populations accumulate genetic and epigenetic alterations in a ratchet-like manner. Those of you that are into home repair, when you have a ratchet, you have to, in order to make sure the screw goes in, you need to take that ratchet and wait for the thing to click, click, click. And every time you reproduce asexually, the mutation gets even more and more and more and more severe without sexual reproduction, without the input of the man. And don't get mad at me, get mad at biological design, okay? If you take the Y chromosome out of there completely, every time you attempt to reproduce using your own cells and just your own cells, every time, if that baby survives at all, it's going to be severely, severely deformed. I'm just letting you know of what the parameters are and what you're seeking to do. Not just extinction, but deformity before extinction. And then once the original women die off, those babies, if they survive at all without the Y chromosomes, are left to survive on their own from a very basal standpoint, which means leading to eventual cannibalism if there's no... It's just bad. It's just bad. And I'm never going to understand why feminist women would want a world without men at all. Bad men, that's one thing. But you can't lump every man just because he has an anatomy of a man that he's a bad man. Come on, man. You can't be doing that. Because that type of misandrist thinking, how do you separate a guy that hurt you from your brother and your son and your uncle and your nephew and any male in your family? If you're calling for the extinction of the male race, that includes the males in your family. And this is something that they are not thinking that far down the line. They're just thinking, the 10 minutes for a TikTok video and how many clicks and how much attention they can get. And I really looked into the eyes of one of the women that was on this fuck the patriarchy bullshit. Their eyes are dark. You could see the darkness in their eyes. Look, don't take it from me. The next time you see one of these, if you can stomach it without scrolling past, as soon as they start with the patriarchy, try to watch the video. But don't watch it from listening to what they have to say. Look at their face. Look at their eyes. That's all I'm asking you to do. Look at their eyes. There's such a contempt and hatred. This is leading into my episode on penis envy, which will be coming up soon. Okay, so listen to this one. This is part 1. And the penis envy will be part 2. All right, so without further ado, guys, I'm going to let you go here because I had to get work on the other episode. And honestly, wherever you are on the scale of things, biology doesn't lie and science doesn't lie. They love to say, respect the science, look at the science, until you do. And it pokes holes in their argument. Then they don't want to talk about science. Then they're talking about everything else. Listen, I was watching TikTok, and there was this, I don't know if he was a senator, I don't know what position he held, but he was basically asking an OBGYN, can a man get pregnant? Which is a very simple answer. It's a yes or no answer. And you should have seen how she was trying everything she could to dodge the question. I'm just trying to find out what was the goal of that question. Such a polarizing question. Listen, when you took your medical exam to become a doctor, okay, before this whole political mess, when they asked you, can a man give birth? Can a man, and I'm not talking about a woman that is trying to present herself as a man or wants to present herself as a man. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a biological male. Can a man get pregnant? It's a very simple answer. And she's going around and around and around. It was, in his words, extraordinary. Extraordinary how she's dodging the question. A simple yes or no answer. Because I can guarantee you, they wouldn't have given her that license years back before this whole thing became politicized. She would have answered, no, a man can't give birth. It would be a simple no. Of course, scientific explanation and, using medical terminology. But once you politicize biology, especially biology that proves you wrong, the only retort that they have is to go circular. And never ever answering the question, ever saying, I don't like these polarizing questions. It's my patients are very complicated. Listen, they're either a man or a woman. In the very, very rare cases, I mean rare, that they have both organs. That's the only ones we can bring into the discussion. And even then, they choose one. They choose to live either as a man or a woman. Okay? I guess depending on how they present more, feminine or masculine. Okay? But with this subject matter, at the end of the day, men need women, women need men. We need each other. Can we just stop the separatist bullshit? Can we just stop? If I hear fuck the patriarchy one more time, I'm going to scream. Because what are you talking about? You would not be here if it wasn't for a man, you dope. You wouldn't exist. Anyway. Stay tuned. And once you're done with this, follow me here, by the way. And follow me on my other podcast, my sister podcast, at the Psychic Splinter Podcast. I have a couple of projects that I still have on the chopping block to get out. I do realize that I have been a little quiet on that particular podcast. It's just because I've been focusing a lot here, because it does act as a springboard for a spiritual in-depth analysis. And I had to get all my ducks in a row before I do that. All right. So that being said, guys, follow me here and follow me at my other podcast, which is the Psychic Splinter Podcast. I love you guys. As always, take care of yourselves. Stay above it all. Stay grounded and stay in your lane. Until next time, Bernadette out.